think I'm live. Hi, and welcome to the first ever World Building Wednesday on the Nerdcrafty channel. I have a really exciting project for us to work on together, because my goal for this stream is to kind of use you guys as also a way to influence this map. I made this map totally sandbox, and I just kind of filled it with some generalized geography. And what I want our job to be is we're going to pick an X, one of these X's on one of these continents, and we're going to start by building out, we'll start with a town today. Something nice and easy, maybe like a D&D starter town kind of thing. But the goal is to eventually fill out all of those X's and to create a world together that I'm going to make available for anyone to use to play for in their D&D campaigns, or to write stories in, and just to be able to have this like wealth of a world already in existence that we all made together. That's the goal. So I hope you're on board for that, and we can kind of go through what my process is like, and it might get a little sloppy and messy with hopefully I get some chat interaction from you guys. I also have some of my friends over at Nerdcrafty that might be joining me, so if my camera flips out at any point, that's the reason why. And just try and get my attention and I'll get it fixed up. But hopefully we can crowdsource together a really cool starter town. So I think the first thing that we need to do is to pick a continent to work from. So there is a continent in the north, a continent in the south, a continent in the east, and a continent in the west. So I don't know if there's anyone in chat yet. Is there anyone in chat? If you can, if you're there, just go ahead and type in a yes, or if you feel so inclined, choose a continent that we can start with using the 4 cardinal directions. And in the meantime, while you are choosing that, I will pop over and show you what my setup is like. Now, I knew ahead of time that we were going to be doing a town today, so I have a little town kind of already set up, just the start of one. And oh, why am I not on a pen? I should be on a pen, or so what I'll do is when we choose a location, I'll draw in some of the resources around it, and this is kind of like a visual map. Hello! Oh, we're going east. All right. So let's hop back over to the map. So our east continent over here, and let's go ahead and I'll zoom in so we can take a look. So we've got a couple of different locations that I've picked out here. There's a spot along this northern coast. There is a spot in a vegetated canyon. There's kind of a spot at a river source. There's a spot on a little bit of a tiny peninsula here. There's one on a much larger peninsula down here. And then we've got one in a bay, and then one kind of near a string of islands. So, what should we... Is there... Oh, totally missed the one over here by the little lakes as well. So, is there an X that's standing out to anyone? We can make it easier too if we just start off like maybe just the top cluster, left cluster, right cluster, or I guess the poor peninsula's down here by himself. The one on the island next to the fishes? Yeah, okay, let's start with a little island. That'll be fun, because if we think of this as like our D&D starter town, that means that our characters are definitely getting on a boat if they want to get to bigger adventure. So let's go ahead and we will start with that little starter town. So we know we're on an island, and we know we have fish nearby. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit, so you can kind of see the whole area. And I really feel like already, because it's an island, maybe this is too big. So let's go ahead and size that down so we have a little more room to work with. There we go. Okay. So, we know that somewhere there's going to be water. Should we have the coast be to the north, the south, the west, or the east of the town? The X was kind of central, so we can kind of pick wherever we want. Let me go ahead and we can, I'll start by drawing in some fishes while we decide where we want that coastline to be. And then we will move the fishes in that direction. Oh, north. All right, so to the north, we're going to have a coastline. Whoa, okay. Switch back to the black ink. We'll have a coastline. And in that coastline, we'll have some fishes. So this just represents the resource of having fish. And because they're so isolated, we're going to give them boats already. Because in order to get anywhere else in the world, we need them to have boats. So we're going to give them boats. So yeah, you can tell that my style is very visual, and this is very rudimentary. I took some time to draw this first. So we're giving them boats. They'll probably also have a dock somewhere. So let's go ahead and build out a dock. And they probably have a shipyard as well. So just like some buildings to receive goods, have ships check in. Some other places for boats to dock. Okay. So let's draw in like a little crane. Okay, so we know. Shipyard. Alright, so we have fish as a resource. It was kind of a grassier area, so they probably have some vegetation, like bushes around. So do you think that they would clear away a lot of that, or do you think that they would probably just build around all of the vegetation? I guess it would help to kind of have an idea of what we would have as vegetation. They'd probably need, like, food sources other than fish. We want to build out around the resources first, because we know that that's what they have. So maybe they have, like, some kind of plant life. This brush is far too big. We're gonna give them some kind of like plant life nearby that they could forage from. Now the houses I've drawn in are kind of representative of like residential, farmer, you know, regular worker type houses. You have to decide on some businesses too. I know the classic one is that if we're doing a starter town, adventurers love to meet up in taverns. So if they have a tavern, they have to also have a way of getting alcohol, either by getting shipments of it or by making it themselves. So, the question is, do we want to be the stereotypical starter town and have a tavern? Or, oh, would think some farming would be needed. I wouldn't think the town large enough to trade fish for all their needs. That's true. They probably do need some farmland. So let's draw some plots of farmland. Now they're on an island, so they might have some exotic agriculture there as well. Something that you might not be able to get anywhere else. Let's draw on these crops. And we can decide what those crops are later. We just know that they have to trade. It's a heavily trade society. Nothing wrong with taverns. Every location, big and small, has places for people to unwind. That's true. So we will probably draw in some kind of public house. Some fields here. They're probably also going to have some kind of animals. Oh gosh, this crops over here look really awful compared to the other ones. Let's just duplicate those. Those look awful. These look nice. We'll copy that. That looks better. Alright, so let's see. This is kind of like the center of town area we're representing it. If we're gonna put in a tavern, it's probably gonna be right near the smack middle of it. Let's see. Probably this area down here would be good. So let's see here. I'm gonna start with shape of the building. Maybe it's got a little bit of an upstairs situation going on as well. Just for like storage purposes. Extend up front a little bit. We'll get rid of those ugly lines. Clean that up. Some kind of hospital. Yeah, for something small, it might even be like, yeah, a witch doctor or just like one person's house that is a healer. It could also be a temple. So I guess the question is, like, how do they view their healing in this society? Nice frothy beer mug so that we remember that that's the tavern. Alright. So after we've got our tavern in, bit of lighting for it. Let's see, so do we want to go with religious healing? Do we want to go the route of just one person as a healer for the village? What are thoughts? And a trade store. Yeah, the trade store would probably be closer to the docks, I imagine, or at least on the northern side of town, just because that's where we've placed the sea or ocean. Simple temple with one priest. Alright, so let's get... That would probably also be fairly close to the center of town. And I imagine since docks are typically fairly dangerous places where people tend to get injured, we're going to want it closer to the dock. So let's see. Maybe some kind of holy symbol in there. And then government representation. Yeah, so we at least need, like, a mayor of sorts, or someone to kind of act in that capacity. Oh, I don't like those doors. It's a temple. It can have better doors than that. Can have double doors. And a big old glass window. A little bit. Alright, so let's see. Because once we have all of our ideas of what we have here, we can start kind of filling in more blanks. So we've got a little temple here. Zoom back out. Alright. Let's see. So, oh, just a reminder. I can't draw the red cross because that is a protected symbol. So I'm just going to write HP plus next to this temple. So I remember that's where you can get healed. Alright, so... As for government representation, do we need a government building? Like a town hall. Probably. I doubt they would want to run business out of the tavern. So let's put in a town hall. That looks horrible, but it doesn't matter so much. Doesn't have to look pretty, it's just for reference. We'll make a much better town map later on in the future. Alright. This one is... let's just call it Town Meeting Hall. If you couldn't tell, I don't have the best pen tablet. I can't stand that it doesn't have some windows. There's probably, like, maybe a window over the door. Okay. So, now that we kind of have the base idea of our town, and I'll just rough in some farmhouses back here. So, farmhouses back there. We have a nice small population, so let's start off with the healer, because it's really just one person in the temple. So we have a priest, or a healer of some type. So, we could come up with a name for the healer first. I want to zoom in. We should probably decide if they are male, female, or somewhere in between. So, I maybe should explain the way that I like to approach this. I always, first of all, like to have a name for all NPCs if I'm building for D&D. Just because that's always the first thing that my players ask me whenever they meet someone new. So I want to have that name ready to go. Oh, what gender and race is the healer? Yes, exactly. We want to figure out what gender and race. We want to kind of get our descriptives out of the way. And then the one big thing that we are looking at for being able to have a healer NPC is what spells do they have access to? And in the case of, you know, building out a world as the person running it, they don't have to necessarily be spells that the players have access to. We can create our own spells if we want to. Because it's a temple also, we might consider that the person running it might be influenced whether the society is a patriarchy or a matriarchy, and what kind of structure their society has. So, bio outbreak, that's our buddy Shane from the Iron Hearts. Shane, I think you might be the only one in chat right now, so it's kind of up to us, bud. I mean, I can choose for us if we want. I've always been akin to having the healers be female and having women in positions of power, but that's probably because I am female, and, you know, it's my fantasy. If I want women to be in power, I get to have women be in power. So I'm leaning female, but if chat says something else, then we'll go with something else. Let's say matriarchy. An old high elf. Alright. Lenasa Keldar. I like that spelling, too. With the Q. Alright. Let's see. High elf. Elderly. And that's all I'm gonna put. People can figure out what elderly for their elves means on their own. Because we all know they live for freaking ever. Alright, so we want to be able to have her do some healing spells and maybe some support spells. So, I mean, the very basic one is we could do our regular old Cure Wounds spell. That's always nice to have. I also like to typically have them able to remove disease if needed. So, actually, there's a spell. I don't have my DMG near me. Why wouldn't I do that? Maybe someone can look it up for me. Oh, well, I don't want to just put that on you, Shane. But there's a spell where it automatically removes a single condition, like a negative condition. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I'll just write cure disease, because that kind of covers our basic stuff. Because it's a temple, we probably want to be able to purify food and water. And maybe they have guidance as like a blessing they can give. So that's just kind of like a little sampling of spells, and I can, you know, I always kind of go on the fly a little bit too, depending on what the party needs and what I'm willing to give them at that point. Kind of based on like how far out there in the wilderness they are. Like if this is for them a town that is, you know, unfamiliar, kind of smaller than what they're used to, then yeah. Oh, big fan of donation for blessing. That's actually a great idea. A week-long buff for a donation to the church. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So... a blessing for that. And let's also, like, I'm not sure what spell I would call it, but let's give them the ability to do some temporary hit point addition. Because I always feel that that's something really nice to give low-level characters if we're making this kind of a starting setting. Just because compared to, like, some of the other classes, like, the casters can be so squishy. Alright, so we kind of have an idea about what we've got going on there at the temple. So let's go over to the city hall. Or the town meeting hall is what we decided to call it. So we need some kind of like chief or mayor. Oh. Yeah. I almost never play like the full-on casting classes. I like to be more utility when I play. Just because they are. I am not a stand back and let other people do everything kind of player. I like to be in it, and being a caster doesn't always lend itself to that sort of type of play. Alright, so we need a chief or a mayor. We need to figure out some sort of security for the town. We need to kind of at least get a name for our mayor. And we need to figure out, like, what the situation with, like, security for the town is. Honestly, security for the town is probably more interesting than picking out one guy to be in charge. So I'm gonna zoom out for this as well, because if we're doing security for the town, we might want to also give them posts around the town. Mayor's probably from the main continent, as well as the guards would be from the main continent. Oh, okay. So we're not talking about like a little autonomous society here. We think that they've been incorporated into a larger empire. Okay, so let's put a little asterisk here. That's dumb. I really need to zoom in if I'm going to use my handwriting, because it is atrocious otherwise. So the mayor reports to a mainland empire. Yeah, it's a fairly safe area. It's an island. It's kind of isolated. They'd probably have fewer guards than more. And if I go back over to our map, I don't think... Yeah, it's not in a particularly strategic location. It's just on the island that happened to have more land. So actually, let's zoom out a little bit and consider like what our population might be, because that'll probably dictate how many guards they need. So I figure like maybe 2 families worth of people in one house. So we'll say like 8 people to a house, something like that. 1 mayor, 2 guards, more bodyguards for the mayor than anything else. Oh, okay. So we don't necessarily need people patrolling the streets. 2. Oh, that's too big. Zoom in again. 2. Guards. I should just write bodyguards. 2 bodyguards for the mayor. Getting Sleepy Town vibes. Well, yeah, if it were too exciting, you'd never leave, right? Honestly, my home game, they started off in Waterdeep, and it was a little bit of an issue trying to get them to leave because there was just so much that they could do there that they didn't want to, and we ended up spending like 3 more sessions in Waterdeep than I wanted to. So I don't mind the boring starter town. Lots of incentive to get out. When poop hits the fan, they are woefully unprepared to handle the threat and need volunteers immediately. Okay. So with the bodyguards, one is probably higher ranking than the other, I'm imagining. So that if someone is giving advice to the mayor, it's probably one of them, not both. So we've got first officer and second officer. Number 1 and number 2. Probably not the best names, but we're gonna call them that for now. Oh gosh. I need to get a better pen tablet at some point. Alright. So, we'll say that number 1 is the advisor. Higher ranking. Alright. Let's see here. So I imagine that if they've gotten onto this island, there's farming land here. They probably went to the island specifically because the land is so good for farming. Looking at the map, oh, main race of the society. Oh, well, okay, so my philosophy is I always like to keep like starter towns kind of ambiguous as to what race belongs there, just because I don't want to limit my characters or make them feel out of place immediately. So I tend to make them a little bit more mixed, or have my players give them reasons to have traveled there. But we do have an elf already. Although I don't think the society, as we're building it, is advanced enough for it to be an elven society. Make the mayor and guards human, easiest to fit in anywhere. Yeah, I was thinking kind of either human or maybe even like in like maybe a lot of halflings live here as well. It kind of has that like vibe to it, right? Like hobbits could live here. Yeah, maybe the empire is like a human empire, but this is like... it's a sleepier town where more farmers live, so it's like the people who are less adventurous. I always imagined them to be like halflings and hobbits has a nice feel. Yeah, so our... my ADD is getting the best of me. Ah! Stop moving. The mouse has lost control. Okay. Human. Human. We'll give them names in a minute. We're just gonna write Hobbit vibes. Alright, so let's name the governing bodies here. So we've got a mayor. I'll erase chief, because we've been saying mayor so much. Lord Carley of Winstead. Colliery. Colliery. Oh, I bet he feels awful being the lord of this place. We're gonna zoom in more. May and Brittleborn and Greg Henderson. I like the name Henderson. It implies that they get in the way. Oh, Weston's here. Oh no, the cat kept you from typing. I have been there. Alright, so number one we decided was Greg Henderson. S-O-N. And then May-Ann. Brittleborn. Okay. Cool. And they're all human. They all come from an outside location. They are transplanted in here. Let me zoom out, Weston, so you can see the whole town map so far. So just, it's really more of a mind map than actually representative of the town map. But we got some farms in there, some residential. We've got a temple with a healer in it. And we've got a tavern down here as well. Hinder and Brittle. Oh yeah, they're real great guards. Oh, it's getting dark in here. I better turn on my light. Hang tight. Thanks. There we go, that's better. So, one thing that we need to do is I should probably draw in a road that connects where the shipyard is to where the town is. Because this is a trade road. That's a D, I promise. Okay, so, let's finish out by kind of filling the tavern a little bit with some NPCs, and then we will move on to what their crops are, and what they trade, and what they need to import, and all of that. Alright. So, the tavern needs a name. What should we call this tavern? Orc Bork Nork. I love it. Orc Bork Nork. Orc Bork Nork Tavern. Alright, so we need a proprietor. I'm gonna rewrite that. My handwriting is going all over the place. Owner. There we go. Alright, so, we kind of talked a little bit about maybe this this area having some halfling influence because it's got kind of hobbity vibes. Do we want our bartender slash owner? Oh, a half orc named Bork Orkin. I love that, and I love that it would explain the name. Ooh, what if it was a half orc and half gnome named Bork Orkin? So it's like a really short orc. Mork the Stork, Orc Bork Nork. We're gonna make him half orc, half gnome. And I've been saying him, let's just make him male. So it's, do we want to go with Orc Bork Nork? Sorry, we want to go with Bork Orkin or Mork the Stork, Orc Bork Nork. Those are just so much fun to say. I kind of like Bork Orkin for the name. It sounds more namey. We can still call him the Stork, because that's a fun nickname. Alright, so Bork the Stork Orkin is what I've decided on. Alright, so that's the owner of the tavern. He always delivers. I'm writing that down too now. With an exclamation point. I love that. Awesome. Okay, so as far as NPCs go, in taverns, I always like to put in a musician and then some kind of like tough thug kind of character. Just in case, you know, you want to start some shit. He employs halflings. Alright, so... bartenders are halflings. And a halfling piper. Plays the bagpipes. Alright, so the halfling bagpiper is gonna need a name. Let's see. I have not encountered the bagpipes of invisibility in any of my games, so I have not gotten to play with that at all. I will have to check it out. Weston, do you want to give the halfling bagpiper a name? And we haven't decided on a gender for them yet, so it could be whatever you like. Oh gosh. That's terrible if you're a performer. Playing the magical bagpipes makes you invisible? How will you get the recognition you deserve? Yeah, I guess it would be something more handy in combat, but if you're trying to like actually do a stage show, not so great. Evar the Tutor. That's fantastic. With a double V. Evar the Tutor. Resident halfling bagpiper. Alright, so then the last thing I want to put into the tavern is some kind of thug. Basically, like an easy first encounter that players can either, you know, use diplomacy on or fight their way out of with little to no threat. I'd like the thug to still be a halfling. Maybe he's like the Gaston of halflings. I like the idea of it being a drunkard. That gives them a reason to pretty much always be in the tavern. Sulksogan, or Sulksogan or Sulksogan. I'm assuming the one that rhymes with Hulk Hogan. Sulk. Sogan. And since we know that he's a thug, we can just use the, he's sulking out. Okay, so I might want to give him, like, one special ability called Sulk Out. Maybe they're a barbarian, or, like, they used to be a barbarian. One level of barbarian. Maybe that's a rage attack. I was just gonna give him normal thug stats, but I think it's kind of more of a fun idea to let him be able to sulk out, considering the name. So, we'll give him, like, level 1 barbarian. Just so he can do that. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with what we've built out so far as non-player characters go, with the kind of town and its structure. So I think we can figure out some trade stuff now. So we know that they do farming, and that's probably like for them, but also in excess so that they can trade it. So we want to think of some trade goods. And, I mean, fish can be traded, but there's a lot of fish in lots of places, unless it's an extremely, like, particular kind of fish we want to invent. So we're going to go into our trade road. They need wood and mineral. Yes. So if I go over to my map, I did not initially put any trees in here, but do you think there should be trees on the island? Because if there are trees on the island, I will grow them in, either on the east or the west. Let's zoom out, I'll give you guys better view of everything. That shipyard looks terrible. I should go back in and draw later. Okay, so like some sparse trees is what we're looking at. Yeah, let's get some sparse trees. Let's see. Probably not like pine trees. Pine trees don't seem right for an island. Maybe marshy? Well, then that's not the right kind of tree. If we want to go marshy, it's probably going to be marshy kind of near the shipyard then, I imagine. So let's... Oh, okay, wetlands. Yeah, so let's draw in some squiggles here to make it look like it's wetter land than normal. Maybe like a few like cattail sort of plants popping out of here. I think Adam came home. So those are like some marsh plants here. Some quick sketches in. And then, do we want to do like some like swampy trees as well? So. Moss hanging off of him. That's probably too big. Let's scale that down. And we'll just put a bunch of them around. I don't want it to be too marshy because they do need to have some farmland. Okay, so we put in some swamp plants that are much too big. We put in some trees. Scale these down. Awesome. Okay. That looks a bit better. Right, so now we've got kind of like a swampland area. I put it near the coast because I feel like that's the most likely place for it to be. So it's mostly to the northeast. I wanted to keep northwest kind of clean. So, is there anything in a swamp that would be valuable as an export? Because I want to give them stuff that they can export for stuff that they need, because they don't have a lot. They do have some wood to build. They have... oh, fungus. Alright. Yeah, we can have mushrooms be an export. Maybe a particular type of mushroom. That is an export. Rare ingredients, herbs, and alchemy. Yes. So let's draw some herbs. this. I might have to write herbs around that to remember. Ooh, how about a rare frogfish that is prized for its healing properties? So, like, what kind of healing properties are we talking about? Like, how is it the frog itself? Do you need to, like, extract something from it? I'm totally for it. Maybe this area is, like, really heavily prized for its magical components. Here's a frog. It can survive the biome easily. When used in alchemy, has amazing healing properties. Okay, so I'm gonna write just an arrow towards it. Healing frog. Well, we said frogfish, right? Frogfish. Okay, I'll give it a fish tail. And maybe like little fins on its arm and like a fin there. Now it's a fish. You like to come up with weird creature combos so nothing feels normal? Me too. I have a whole other world that I have written where a lot of the animals are kind of creature combos. My favorite one so far has been taking a bat and combining it with a goat. It is freaky, and I love it. Maybe it's a gag. Well, I'd like for it to actually be something of value for them to export, since we're trying to actually get them some commerce and give them a reason why this town exists and is not, like, totally abandoned. I mean, it might be a case that it's slowly being abandoned, but for now, it exists. If someone is hurt and find the frog, they can lick it and be... Oh, okay, so, like, maybe they don't understand how the healing frog works, and they try and hunt after it. Is that what you're talking about? I wouldn't put that past a group of role players. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't put it past them. But, yeah, I definitely wouldn't necessarily make it, like, a joke thing to the people that live there. They might just think it's like, oh, these stupid foreigners. They think that's how it works. Not so much them telling, no, go ahead, lick it. It'll make you feel better. So, yeah, so their major export, probably magical components. Ah. Legends say. I would just chalk that up to someone being a mean local if it's not true. So I think we've at least figured out that, like, the major export is magical components. they probably have to import some things. I imagine probably like clothing, if at least fabric. So let me draw coming in. This is stuff that's going to be much more expensive if you try and buy it in town. So I'm just going to write fabric. I won't assume that it's already made into clothes. Probably also, they would probably have their own farm animals, right? We can assume that they would have animals on their farms, the basic ones for agriculture. I'm gonna assume that. Oh yeah, they'd probably have to import ore. A herd of bat coats. Yeah, they at least need like some kind of farm animal. Goats are actually great because they can also be like work animals as well as dairy animals as well as meat animals. So I like the idea of goats. I'm just gonna draw like a really rudimentary goat. It's not gonna be good. There's a goat. And we'll draw another one down here. Here's another goat. Some bat cheese, bat milk, bat wool. It's starting to sound like Gotham. Bat cheese is what Batman gets for his charcuterie boards. Alright, so if they have some farm animals, they probably don't need to import any fabric or... They're good on the Medicine Gotham Ranch. Maybe one of the maybe one of the farms can be Gotham Ranch. Why am I spelling it Gotham? Here's Gotham Ranch. No, we haven't done a name for the town yet. I wanted to kind of get a feel for like what the commerce was like, what the vibe of it was like, because, you know, towns, unless they're named for people, it's usually like to do with what features are around or what the town is good at. So I figured we could probably name it last. But we're almost there. We're almost to the point where this place needs a name. In fact, we probably could, unless we can think of some more stuff that would need to be imported. They've got plenty of food. They've got regular resources, fabric, or luxury goods. Alcohol. They probably don't refine their own based on, like, what the types of crops and exports that we've talked about are. Unless they have, like, some weird kind of mushroom ale. That's a terrible question mark. That's awful. Here, let's fix it. So the mushroom exports were Weston's idea. Weston, what do you think of having like a mushroom-based alcohol? I mean... I'm gonna take I mean as yes. A rare mushroom that gives person an enlarged spell. Oh, well that would be fun. That would definitely be fun to have basically the mushroom from Alice in Wonderland. Zoom in enough. There we go. Mush mash. Mush juice. I like mush juice. Mush mash sounds more like food than something you'd drink. Fungier. Maybe there's a couple of different brands. Fung beer. I'll write it down as a possibility. So I'm putting this under, like, the tavern section of, like, possible things like, you could purchase at it. While I'm here, I'm also thinking, because of the whole frog thing, they probably have, like, a frog-based, like, or, like, themed, at least, cocktail of some kind. Frog leg cocktails. We'll put that on the eating menu. Which should just be their natural and frogfish stew. It's a very big frog society. And leg of bat goat. I should probably go back and give those goats wings then. There. Now they're bat goats properly. I think I might, like, instead of listing all the parts of the bat goat, maybe we just write, like, braised bat goat. And that should cover all of it. or roasted? What's better, braised or roasted? It's interesting, Weston, that you mentioned gators, because I was going to get to predators next. Spitted. Alright. So that's a spit roast. Spit roast bat goat. It's got a ring to it, doesn't it? Oh, Weston votes braised. Okay, we'll make braised an option as well. Or braised. I mean, you can't go wrong with anything braised. It just falls right off of the bone. Alright, so I think that's enough for building out the tavern and everything. Let's go back to the larger area. Weston mentioned gators, which I like the idea of, especially if we've got a swampy area. There would probably be gators. There's a weird line. Hold on, let me erase this real quick. I think it's on this layer. Yeah. When I had that other color before. Alright, let's get a gator in here. And I don't want to draw a whole gator. So I'll just draw like some swampy water. And here's the gator's nose, and here's the gator's head. Here's its little eye. Hippo gators. Oh my god, that would be so terrifying. Oh my god, because, oh gosh, oh, I'm just imagining a hippo with like super sharp, jagged teeth. Worst thing about hippos is they're mean for like almost no reason. They have flat teeth, which means they eat plants. Oh, I'm fixing that gator. That's terrifying. And not in a good way. Let's flip a little gator tail out of this, like it's a little sea monster coming out of there. The hippo gator is a far out, very rare. I would hope so. Yeah, they don't have natural predators. I guess if I get a second life, I want to be a hippo. Because nothing is fucking with the hippos. Zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to copy this gator and we'll drop it in some other places as well. That ought to be good. Just to show that we have gators as predators in the area. And I actually don't mind the idea of like a hippo gator variant kind of creature. But maybe it's more like, yeah, it's super rare. Maybe it's almost like mythological. That's how rare it is. So let's, okay, how would I even draw a hippo gator? We're gonna put it like way on the outskirts of town though, since it's so rare. So maybe we like draw like some hippo eyes and like the little ears. Oh, that's looking like a cartoon. Let's not draw it like that. And then it's got like the snout. And then it's probably got like two really big sharp teeth. It's starting to look like a walrus, isn't it? And then on the bottom as well, big sharp teeth. hippo snout. There's its flat head. Big snails are also awesome. Yeah, big snail. I like that idea. I'm just gonna finish drawing this like hippo gator. I don't know why, but I'm drawing it like bipedal. It's a bipedal hippo gator, you guys. Okay, maybe it needs claws. Yeah, it needed claws. Oh. Hippo gator. Super rare. So yeah, that's an apex predator. Yep. Super rare and danger. Might be a nice like little first encounter adventure sort of thing. All right, let's deal with this giant snail. So, first of all, love the idea of a giant snail. And I'm almost thinking like maybe it's something they ride. Like maybe it's a mount. This is too big. Yes, a riding snail. Yes. So actually, if they have riding snails, that's probably a really good export as well. So let's see. Let's draw a snail with a saddle on its shell. So let's start off. Nice shell. It's been a long time since I've seen the Never-Ending Story. I think I need a refresher on what snail creature you're talking about, Weston. Alright, and then a little saddle on top of it. So we need to draw the shape of the saddle. Probably comes down a little bit more like that. And then the part that comes down for the little stirrups. And maybe like that. And then probably if there's a way to control it, it would go like around its neck over there. It's adorable. There's a dude on a riding a snail and he calls it a racing snail. Oh Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that movie again. It bears a rewatch, I think. They've got like tiny little mouths. That's adorable. I love it. Carrot on a stick for reins. Like, we can... Now, I've always known snails to prefer, like, lettuce. So I'm wondering if maybe it's a cabbage instead. Yeah, every time my family ever had problems with snails in my mom's garden, it was because they were trying to eat her lettuce. So, now you'll have to be careful with these snails because in order to export them, they have to get across an ocean. Of course, no one's established whether it's a freshwater ocean or a saltwater ocean, so we can decide that later. Giant snails that can also be exported if they need to be. Alright. Let's check what we have so far. I think I need to... No, not that far in. Not even that far in. Okay. So here's what we have so far. We've got an island town with our healer in a temple. We've got a little tavern over here. We've got our town meeting hall with a mayor and a couple of bodyguards planned out. NASCAR is usually popular on the mainland. You know what? We could make that a thing. That sounds super awesome. We've got our exports figured out. We've got some predators over here. I should probably write Gators. Just so we remember that they're there and being threatening. We've got what we know are imports, which are the more expensive things. We know that we've got trees for lumber. We have bat goats for food and dairy. We've got our farms. We've got the hippo gator out here all on its own. This apex predator that could become a problem for this town in the future, giving us a couple of really fun stories. We've got our shipyard for trade. Is there anything else that we think this town might be missing? My thoughts are, if it's... Oh, plot hooks. That's true. Usually I think of, like, the plot hooks that tend to get the characters out of the town. But, like I said, we do have, if we wanted to give them some adventures within the town, we do have the hippo gator that could cause problems. We also know that our mayor is not necessarily, like, the best suited for the job. The bodyguards are shitty. Points of interest. An abandoned... Oh, abandoned ground, run old ship. Oh, okay. Yeah, just give it like a little something extra on the outskirts of town. Because my intention eventually, and I mean this is just the first stream, but all of these X's, and we've chosen this one to start with, so this X will be disappearing from this map. And I'll put up a little town symbol in there instead. But each of these, they don't have to be towns or cities. These are also interesting features or like those plot hook areas. But just for our starting town area, we can give it a little bit of something. Maybe something that leads to somewhere else. So like maybe there is like an abandoned ship that was run aground up here and it contains a treasure map or something. So let's draw in a shipwreck. Up here in the swamp somewhere. On the outskirts of town. Probably like a cabin or something here. Mast. Maybe one line's attached, one is broken. Some tattered sails. Okay, so we have an abandoned ship now outside of town. So let's put something in it that can get our adventurers off of the island. Or we'll call it Shipwreck. Ooh. Looks like, Weston, do you have an idea? No. Yes. My immediate thought was some kind of treasure map, but if we can think of something less generic of a plot hook to have in the ship, that would probably be better. Although I don't mind a good treasure hunt. I never mind a good treasure hunt. Some fish pirate abomination. Like maybe there's a curse. Fish mutants. Alright, so like maybe there's like a cursed fish mutant, sea captain type person. Would they just be attacking anyone? Is that part of the curse? Or is it the case of like they're trying to get attention to break the curse? depend on player reaction. I think I might accidentally be drawing this, like, fish monster guy as, like, Steed Bonnet from Our Flag Means Death. A fish monster pirate. There we go. So they probably do want the curse lifted. But it's kind of up to the players to figure out if they want to try and do that or just kill him. Because that's always an option, right? Now, what did they have in their ship that got them cursed? How did they become cursed? Okay. So creature doesn't want to be looked at and tries to communicate from the shadows. So it's not a case of like, here's this big scary monster that wants to kill you. It's like, oh god, what is that creepy thing? Here we go, they're a creeper. So, do you think these were maybe, like, pirates before? Yeah, fish pirate abomination is what you said. So, they probably pillaged something that got them cursed. Or they pissed someone off that cursed them. So is it a thing, or... I love a map. Is it a cursed map? Ooh, a cursed map. So maybe in order to lift the curse, whatever the map leads to needs to be used to lift it. Like the map itself is cursed, but it leads to the item to lift it. Does that make any sense? Weston says, totally, we're going with it. So it leads to the item that lifts the curse. Okay, but maybe if you take any of... Maybe it's like an Aladdin situation. If you touch any of the other treasure, then that's what actually, like, causes the curse to happen. Or, like, it worsens the curse. Something like that. We'll just leave it ambiguous for now, because that's actually better for the story. This is one town. When we figure out where the map actually leads to, then we can figure out the details of the curse. But we'll leave it at that. It's the curse is from the map. It's causing them to be like fish mutant pirates. And they are not necessarily malicious. They are just trying to get attention to hopefully get themselves back to their normal humanoid form. Ambiguous is best ambiguous. Yes, ambiguous is always better. It allows us more freedom, right? And that's the point of this. We want this to be for anyone to play in. And being able to kind of go with the flow makes it a lot easier. Alright, well we are about 15 minutes from finishing the stream, so I think a couple of things last. Let's get some names on these areas. So we need a name for the town. We need a name for the swamp. And probably at least like a colloquial name for this shipwreck, like something they used to refer to it as. So let's start off with the easier ones. So town name. So we've got a lot of frog-related things. We've got some swamp-related things. We've got some snail-related things, some mushroom-related things. The area is very big for magical components, especially those for healing. What do we think would be a good name for this town? You know, we did write Hobbit vibes earlier because we kind of got that sort of sleepy town feel from it. Do we want to maybe like have it end in Shire? Peach Town? Yeah, it's not a super peachy area. It doesn't scream Peach Town to me. I kind of like the idea of like having it end with Shire because of the Hobbit vibes. Frogshire, Gatorshire, Snailshire. Mistshire. Mist is good because it's seaside. We'll write that down as an option. Let's see if we can come up with a better one. And I'll write it better when I actually write the name. Weston asked, what if it is a reference to some of the resources? Yeah, I like that idea. If we go with the storyline that the snail racing is really big in a lot of places, and this is the place where they get them from, maybe like, oh, what did we call it? Snascar? Snaskershire. Let me zoom in. That feels awful to write it like that. Spore mist. The spore part is nice because it alludes to the mushrooms. Spore Bogshire. Maybe if we switch that Bogsporeshire, that feels like it rolls off of the tongue a little bit better. Like, ooh gosh, why is my pen so big? Bogsporeshire, Sporgog. Sporgogshire? Just Sporgog? I don't know, Sporgog doesn't seem to have the charm to it. Bogshore. Bogshore sounds correct, actually. Bogshore does have a nice ring. I agree. I agree. That might be it. Let's just get rid of that. Snailfordshire. I like that. But that's just me. Snailfordshire. Bogshore or Snailfordshire are both really, really good. And I think we should just decide between the two of those. So let me write down the options. Snailsford. Sure. You know what? Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's roll for it. I have a coin around here somewhere. Oh, even better. Even better, I've got my dice. Alright, so let's just roll a d6 and go high-low. If it is a 1, 2, 3, it's Snailfordshire. If it is a 4, 5, 6, it's Bogshore. Let's see what we get. It is a 4. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. It's a 4. It's a backwards 4 for you, but it's a 4. So we're going to go with Bogshore for this one. Alright. But we still also have to name the swampy area. We can give the swamp a name as well. So, blank swamp. So, let's see. Since Bogshore came from Shane, let's, Weston, do you want to name the swamp? We could maybe even take, like, Snailsford and just make it Snailsford Swamp. Or Swamp of. Ooh, you're right. Swamp of does sound better, doesn't it? Oh gosh, what's going on? I grabbed the wrong tool. Let's move that down. I'm pitching ideas for Weston. Well, I like, you like Slime Trail Swamp? Should we go with that? Alright, we're gonna go with Slime Trail Swamp. And then we will get rid of that, because we don't need that now. And we will take this over to where the swamp is. Where did it paste it? In the same place? Okay, we're gonna take that up over to the swamp area and name it. Let's actually make that a little bit bigger so we know it's a name. All right. You usually start with some adjectives and nouns and start swapping them around till something sticks. I've definitely gone that route too. It's the easy way if you want to like just kind of get a name out there. All right, so I think this is it for the first location on our map. We have the town of Bogshore and all of the locations of note within. We've got a bunch of NPCs, and this map is a mess right now, obviously, right? It's just basically a mind map. Let me zoom out a little bit more so you can see all of it. So yeah, this is our mind map. We didn't even make it all the way over here, but I think that's because the hippo gator was preventing us from moving through that direction. And you know, it's probably the case for the people that live here in Bogshore too. But I am going to get out my copy of Incarnate, and we will get a much nicer looking map together to put out there. And if you want to be around and be one of the first people to get the final map for the city, or town in this case, then you want to make sure that you are going to go over to our Discord. And I know this is, Weston and Shane are on there already, but this is mostly for the people who haven't and are watching later. Let me get you a Discord invitation code to our mapping channel. And I will throw that into the chat, and you can catch it on the chat replay. That way you can join our Discord, get our maps, and you can start using them to run your own games. And I'm sure eventually I'm going to probably run a game in this world as well. We'll do that as like a fun thing when we finish all of the other locations. We got 44 more to go. This is one of many. And thank you for hanging out with me, everybody. And like I said, come back on Sunday. If you are available and around at 6 o'clock, we have our Iron Hearts campaign. Weston and Shane are both a part of that, run by Captain Zach, who is an amazing GM and has been running this group for a really long time now. So that is something to not miss. And I'm going to be back next Wednesday. We'll pick another location and we'll do this all over again. Maybe not a town next time. Maybe we'll do like a geological feature or some ruins or something like that. But I think that's about everything I got for right now. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure you check out nerdcrafty.com. And if you really enjoyed the stream, I got my coffee information down here in this, the box below. So, oh gosh, why am I so dark all of a sudden? Oh, I see why. Ha! Left the invite information up. Okay, now you can see me properly. I'm going to motion again below down to here where I have my coffee link. So if you really enjoyed the stream, throw me a tip down there. But in the meantime, have a lovely week, everybody. And I will see you again next Wednesday. All right. Bye.